Hi guys, thanks for listening in to the Puckish podcast, where four average guys go on a journey of self-discovery through conversation. This is the second part of our discussion about racial stereotypes in Singapore. We explored how the media and content creators can take more responsibility in representing different races and delve deeper into the army experience and how it taught us more about other races. Hope you enjoy the discussion.
I had some interesting experiences in BMT, also to do with race because being like the only the only other non-Chinese person in BMT, some guys were like, oh, it's like I normally don't like Indians, but you're different. That's one comment I got, and I got, oh, you're my first non-Chinese friend, and I was shocked lah. I was shocked to think that there were people like that. But then like when I got to know these guys, and you realize that through no fault of their own, they just happen to grow up, going to school and their friends and going to poly and everything like that. They just never got around to mixing with people from a different race, which is surprising lah. But it's still something that happens in Singapore. So as much as we say we're multicultural and all these things, there are still lots of people who, at least during the time when I was in NS, that never had a friend that from a different race. But that being said, we all got along. If anything, I hope that their experience with me made them kind of be more open to having friends of other races. Not that I represent an entire race, but if I've literally their first experience with someone from another race is in BMT, then I can see why it's such a beneficial part of growing up for Singaporean men, because you get to hang out, you get to mix around with people that you never ever would have mixed around with before.
What was your initial reaction when they asked you that question?
Thinking back, right, I just didn't want to offend. I didn't want to like come across as like hard to get along with, because I wanted to be liked. And I knew that I was maybe at a disadvantage because I was different, because I was the only non-Chinese person there. And a lot of experiences in my life, like I especially growing up, you realize that you're at certain situations you're the only non-Chinese person. And if people start speaking Mandarin around you, then they have to like, then they realize that you're there, then they have to like change the way they behave, because to like cater to you, and you kind of feel like you don't want to be a burden. You don't want to be like please don't change the way you behave because of me. Like, I want to be part of everyone. I just want to be a part of all you guys. So the same way, like when they said stuff like that to me, I just laughed it off.
Yeah, and I think that whole, this is something I read like recently, like the whole like not making a big deal of things in Singapore when it comes to race and these kinds of matters is quite I think it can be quite a toxic thing in society as well. I think it can sweep under the rug a lot of things that should be said and heard a lot of the times. And yeah, especially with what's happening in the world right now, this whole like repression of stereotypes, like saying something and then saying, oh, that wasn't my intention, I just tried to make a joke. I mean, these things a lot of people usually do and just dismiss it, that, oh, that was not what I meant, so it's something I'm forgiven for saying that. Like even in I remember clearly like walking past a group of students and they were saying the N-word just like that, because it's like people see it so much in pop culture and everything, and they still say it. But then if someone approaches them, they say, oh, I just saying it doesn't mean anything, and people usually just sweep it under the carpet. So I think this kind of perception of how we should deal with these racial stereotypes and everything is something that should be heard and highlighted more within all these like groups in Singapore especially. And it's just interesting to me that, because I've definitely never really felt it to the extent that other people might, or like a minority race might. And yeah, I'm just good. I guess I don't know if it's good to hear that people are talking more about it now, especially in this conversation about army and everything, where everyone has gone through national service, and I'm sure everyone has experienced something like that. So I guess it's good to share and like talk about it, and highlight it more, like these days, especially in times like this.
Yeah, they talk about national service as the great unifier, right? The
The
thing
great
that brings all
equalizer.
races. Yeah, equalizer. Sorry, that brings everyone together. But I mean, if you look at it, right, like Amirul, you went to police, and majority of the people who went to police, what race were they?
Well, I'm supposed to answer as Malay, but let me ask you guys, right? Okay, we have a squad of 39 people in my unit, and guess how
Yeah.
many Malays were there?
9.
Because I told you already, right?
No.
So there weren't actually many Malays lah in your own squad.
No, there's only 9, and for us, right, it's even worse because right, they divide us based on our education system. So
Oh.
there is
I didn't know
around
this.
10 units per intake, around 10 units per intake for the prep squad for me.
How big is one unit? 30 plus.
39 to 44 if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first 5 units, right, they broke it out into secondary education. And then when you are into your tertiary education, right, you're broken down into whether you took A levels, diploma, NITEC, higher NITEC, and things like that. So they really cluster you based on your education. So, well, it kind of like gravitated that the
Your
IT
unit.
batch had more Malays, yeah,
Right.
and then the diploma batch only had 9 Malays. So I'm like, why is it divided into like that already? So
Yeah, it's such a
even though it's
weird
not like
way to divide things.
yeah. So we did question that to the what was it? I forgot what's it called, the
Superintendent.
commanding, yeah, superintendent, that's the word. Superintendent. And then like he said, oh no, because right, for your O-level squad, right, when you pass out you cannot become a corporal straight, so this is why we divided you, so you have special attention to get your corporal kind of thing, because the pre-qualifier to become a corporal is to pass IPPT and to have a diploma or A-level equivalent at least. So that was a divide that was already casted back then. That was way beyond our control.
It was quite a systemic thing, lah.
Yeah, and we couldn't do anything about it. So that was quite weird, I would say, in terms of that.
Did you
racial
face
divide.
any weird questions, any incidents where you were like, wow, like, this is a
I
bit
think
racist?
so this is the thing, right? So I think our conversations for starting conversations or like water cooler talks are a bit different. So we will mostly talk about O-level results or the diploma, right? And I will say I'm from ESCOM and I passed math. They like to ask math questions, surprisingly. And when I tell them my grades, right, they're like, hey, how come you can do math? I thought Malays all cannot count one.
The Chinese people asked you, lah.
Yeah. So that was quite
Was it like a
not
shock
funny,
to
but
you?
yeah. To be honest, I think because of my choice of secondary school, so it's predominantly Chinese, and I would say I didn't realize there was a divide between who can do math and who couldn't do math, because like we were all like on equal standing for that capability. So I really didn't see it only after like jokes and the meme, when the meme format became popular. That's why I realized that really I can't do math. So it has to be reinforced by the media kind of thing to say that this meme or this joke exists, and somehow it didn't apply to me. Now it kind of applies to me. So I have to like whenever I start a conversation, I have to debunk that myth. Oh no, I can do math. I can do calculations for you. You want me to divide the for the bill? I can do it. But because of this kind of belief that other people already have on me, so I need to spend a bit more time to educate people that
It's
trustable
interesting.
with
Your
money
first
and-
reaction was to your first reaction was not anger. Your first reaction was, I can do this. I can integrate. Like, to me, that's very interesting, lah.
I think it's a very Singaporean thing, right? Like, you must
Yeah.
integrate into our our diverse
Yes.
society. Our HDBs are spread out into proportionate racial proportions.
Yeah, it's
such
similar
a
to
Singaporean
Vince's
thing.
reaction. It's like there was no anger. It was just like, no, I want to fit in. Like, I can
Yeah.
do
Because
this. I can do
yeah,
this.
I don't think if I were to get angry, right, then I honestly think we may not have been friends with I wouldn't have got along with the people, because it's just like causing more in my mind. It was like, oh, there's more reasons now that they won't want to talk to me. I don't want to cause trouble. And I mean, if you think about it, I do wish I said more. But then when you put yourself in that position, in that particular situation where you weigh the, should I say something, or should I just let it be? Plus also, yeah, because of my secondary school, my poly and stuff like that, and the things I was used to hearing, that it just didn't seem like, you just get used to it. You just like, if let's say we go out for drinks, oh, you're Indian, what, definitely can drink one. Definitely can, you can definitely drink a lot. Then I'm just like, yeah, and especially when I went out with my army friends, that's what they used to say a lot. But it's just like taken as it is because it's something that is you're so used to. Now I hardly hear stuff like that. Like, yeah, rarely. Even with my army friends, we don't really talk about it. Like, it's the topic of race or differences in terms of skin color and cultural backgrounds and all it's not very commonly discussed. I think it's just like put aside because it's something that was in the past. So I think that definitely we've progressed a lot lah. But I feel like, oh, hello. I feel like that during that time, especially during NS and stuff like that, right? Well, a lot of things we just took it and just had to like get on with it.
Like one thing that I've always been like, I started thinking about more, that once this whole like the Black Lives movement in the US is happening, what I've been thinking about more is like this kind of like question or like phrase that people have been throwing around, like if you are like not speaking up about what's happening now, or like not speaking out about racism makes you a racist. Like, I've seen that floating around, and I don't know, I just wanted to know what you guys thought about it. Because in Singapore, it's like such a thing to not speak up about it, to integrate, to just sweep it under the carpet and just accept it as it is, as a status quo. But then you see like all these movements happening where people are saying you should speak up. If you don't speak up, that means you are part of the problem, which I can see the rationale behind it. But I just wanted to put it out there and see what you guys thought about it.
I think for me, talking about Black lives is so distant from my life here in Singapore. I wouldn't use my social media to speak up about it because I have the belief that I don't know enough about the Black experience in America. But what I can do is talk about racism here in Singapore and tie it back to how Singapore. So maybe not draw. I can draw parallels between how the blacks feel and how certain minorities feel in Singapore. You know, we have the problem like with our migrant workers, for example. I mean, and of course with our minority races in Singapore and all these like different. You can sort of see how these things, how systemic racism across the board, across a lot of countries have formed, and the power struggle between the dominant race and the minority races in Singapore and in the US. So I feel that I shouldn't talk about it in the sense that I shouldn't say Black Lives Matter because I don't know enough about it, but I can draw similarities with back home in Singapore and talk about it.
Yeah, so the whole argument of you cannot say you are not racist unless you are anti-racist, and to be anti-racist you need to speak out when something racist is happening around you and you know something racist happening around you. So you, by keeping quiet and not doing anything, you are also to blame because you are not actively doing something to prevent or to educate the person that is saying these things. Then I understand the argument, but when it comes down to daily situations, right, it is going to cause a lot of it's inevitable that it will cause tension and it will cause disagreements with people. So it's a tough topic, and I think it's really of course in an ideal world everyone gets treated equally and fair, but that's not the case. And to say, okay, like if you take it upon a person from the majority race to raise these questions and to confront a person being racist, it takes a lot. Ideally, you would, as a person if I'm a minority and I'm receiving abuse from someone, it would feel good if someone else stood up for me at the same time, right? If someone else said, hey, like, what you're saying is wrong. If I didn't need to just defend myself, if there was someone else on my side also, just to feel like I'm not in it by myself. So I can see that, but I still think that we are a very, very long way from that happening, that being in practice. And then you have to draw there has to be a line, right? Or maybe there's no line, because there'll be small things that are said that are like, that's like micro, like they call it microaggressions, or things that are racist, or assumptions that people make based on the race. So how small do you want to go? How at what level do you say like, okay, this is fine, but this is not, and then this is not fine? But that being said, I think like in the group of friends that I have and the group of friends that we have, stuff like that isn't necessarily talked about quite a lot anymore. Like you don't really have these microaggressions as much, but here and there might be something said, but it's more like whatever, it's more like an innocent comment. Do I want to stop and say like, oh, that thing you said about me being able to drink a lot, like what do you know that's racist, right? Like just because I'm Indian doesn't mean I can drink a lot, or like I don't really know where I stand on that, because I feel like I would like to be supported on it, but at the same time I can understand why it's tough for people to do it on a day-to-day
I do agree with you,
basis.
Vin, because like I think for me, I am not an activist, so I don't proactively scout for issues to put a voice into. But I mean, for me at least, I want to believe at the very core of all people, we're all good people. And okay, it's a bit how do I put this?
Rainbows and
Yeah, it's very what's the word for it? I can't even think. There's a idealistic. It's very idealistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, it feels nice that people are like what you said, showing their voice in support and solidarity in terms of like speaking up, and it feels nice to know that someone is on your side and on your corner. So for me, I won't actively post on social media, because that's not what I'll do. Maybe like like the role of Martin Luther King, and I think the lady was called Rosa Parks. That there's always like someone who brings all the noise and like brings all the attention to it. But if you need support, I'll just submit my email if that supports you, or like donate money. So it doesn't have to. I don't even have to have like that, because everybody thinks that they need to have a say per se to show that you want the world to change. But I think there's other ways to show your support for a cause. And
I mean, I
it doesn't
agree,
have to
because
be-
our spheres of influence aren't that big, like, to be honest. And I look around me, right, and most people share the same kind of views I have. Like, everyone knows Black lives do matter, and in some form or another, they have read and educated themselves about it, and they know that racism is bad. So I don't feel like a need to post it on my social media and say like I support you. I can support in other ways, I can donate to a cause. We can all do that, but we don't feel the need to, because our sphere of influence is just too small. Like, having conversations like this even help, actually, understanding each other and understanding struggles of minorities.
yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I think that's a very I guess we all kind of see it the same way. Like, but I don't know, is that means is activism needed more now, since we're all quite I guess I would say we're all quite passive in this whole like situation. And I don't want to turn this into a debate whether activism is important or things or this and that, because we don't really know much about it. But okay, maybe I'll give you an example. Like last night I was talking, and there was this example of this person who was calling out her friends for not being active enough about speaking up against this whole situation that's happening. And she also called out a friend so this friend is Asian, and he didn't realize that he always used on Instagram stories you see that those reaction gifs that people do of different people, and then this Asian guy always use black people as reaction gifs, and then the person got called out, say this is like digital blackface. Yeah, and so it's the first time I've heard of it, and apparently it's a thing. But is that kind of thing needed now more than ever, that this one person who will go out and tell you calling you out on what you are doing that isn't right, even though you didn't mean any harm. Like, I would think that a person would probably just find this a funny thing and wanted to use this GIF. But maybe in the back of the head, there's this whole digital blackface that's happening, which is, I guess, is important to highlight. But this kind of actively calling out your peers and your friends about it, do you guys think it's needed more now?
I think this stems from, okay, so it's gonna go into like the being woke, right, or being overly woke, or being aware of these things, as you say. But what happens is slowly, right? Like I said, even the big things aside, the smaller things are gonna be that, where do you draw the line then? So for things that 5 years ago would never have been a big deal, now it's like, oh, how can you say this thing? How can you call a trans person dude or something like that? Like, people have been banned on Twitter for saying stuff like that. So you have like things that slowly people are claiming that, that's offensive also, this is offensive, and you reach a point where like you're gonna be overly cautious about what you're saying, and then it will definitely stifle your expression to some level, and what's going to happen is the pendulum's going to swing the other way, and people are going to be saying, screw all that, like, I don't want to be that, all this overly policed and overly PC culture, and you swing back the other way saying, and then they will just be like, I'm just going to say whatever I want, and then they start saying the most controversial things just to get back at the other side. So this whole like cancel culture, the whole thing's like, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. I guess for big things, like in terms of, using racial slurs and stuff like that, and like stuff that most people would consider racist is one thing, but then once you start going into these details where it's debatable as to what the intention is, then I feel like then it's such a gray area, right? You just don't know where to draw the line, and it's dangerous. I think I feel it's just gonna cause more people to be upset from the other side who don't see it, who genuinely didn't have bad intentions when they did it, to be labeled as racist. Then you're gonna be like, what? Like, if that makes me racist, then I'm racist. I don't care, I'm racist.
Yeah.
It loses the meaning.
Or it could definitely like suppress someone all the way to like, I just won't talk about this anymore.
Who defines all these cultures though, and words that you can use, and so how do you who writes this handbook, and who polices it? I think like what you say, right? It's always two sides of everything. Like, there's like the conservatives and there's the liberals. Right? It's always a split, and between the spectrum, there's like 0 to 100 kind of spectrum on both ends actually. So where do you draw the line?
It's like a circle, like it comes right back around after that. You go too far on one side. And like you said, if people stop talking about it, then what they're going to do is they're just going to go and not discuss it, and then just vote in silence, and then, then you get surprise election winners, like
silent majority.
Yeah.
I think bringing this discussion back to the movie, right? I think what the movie did well was that it managed to show all stereotypes quite equally. Like, I think to me, that's the way to do it, lah. To actually shine the spotlight on each race and make fun of it, as long as you make fun of it equally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what.
Is there a director's cut for this movie or not?
I have no idea. I don't think so. I mean, if you look at the movie, they show the boom mic, all these things.
Oh yeah, I saw so many boom mics, man.
It's quite poorly executed, but it's a.
They tried.
It's
the content.
Yeah,
content.
The content was.
The budget was $700,000.
Is that a lot
for the movie? Yeah, it's a big budget film. Surprising that the
for Singapore,
boom mics were in shot. Yeah, it was a big budget film for 1996 Singapore, and it made like 1.6 million or something.
1.6, yeah.
Wow,
that's crazy. Yeah, so to me, as long as you show all the races and you sort of make fun of them equally, right? I think that's the way to go. Like, even drawing back to my own experience in the army, right? I didn't say, so I was a driver in the army in Tekong, and because I grew up in a English speaking school from primary school all the way to secondary, and then I went to mass comm, like everyone is English speaking, right? And there aren't many like Malays, there aren't many Indians and all that. And when I went to Tekong, right, it was really a culture shock because when I opened I went into the wrong bunk lah. Or no, I had to call one of the bunks people down for parade. And then when I opened the door, right, it was just all Malays, right? And then they look at me, they were like, siapa ni sia ni? Orang Cina. They asked me to fuck off. and I thought it was damn no, at that time, right, I even thought it was damn funny. I laughed it off lah. Then eventually, right, all these people became my friends. Like, and they all come from not my background, you know. It's like different types of backgrounds, and they all became my good friends. And you sort of have to earn their respect in a way, in a weird way also. It's like how they will ask questions also that are not ignorant. It's just funny. It's just like, oh, yeah, I thought all orang Cina they don't bathe one. You know, this like funny questions lah. It's very weird, like how my experience was entirely flipped on his head. Like I wouldn't say I felt like the minority, but you know, at those moments, right, it was quite funny to see lah. It was
Yeah, I think that part about definitely like earning the respect of other people. You just have to like kind of roll with the jokes.
yeah.
Like yeah, I used to like, we also used to get that, like my guys were like so in my section in army, I had like, there were Malay, Indian, Nepalese, Chinese, Singapore Chinese, and yeah, it's quite interesting. Like there are definitely cliques. No matter how much you mix everyone together, like there'll still be cliques, racial cliques that form. And you kind of have to like take it also. Like they would just all speak in Malay, and I just ask them, can you speak in English, please? Or then if they don't listen to you, then you just kick them, that kind of thing. Like it's I guess in the end you have to earn that respect and that right to call people your friends in a way. Like if not, you can just stick to yourself and just be who you are, and then you won't get this kind of experience of like meeting other people and sharing their experience. Because there are plenty of people who did that. Like there were like people that stuck to themselves, that didn't want to interact with other people, and their experience is definitely not what a lot of, like their experience wouldn't be my experience of like learning about different cultures, different races and everything. It was the good equalizer, the great equalizer.
To me, right, playing football was my way of earning respect, honestly. because when you play with them, right, and then they realize like, oh, actually you can play, then you sort of build that bond. So to me, national service wasn't my great equalizer. It was football. Like it was getting to know more people through football.
For sure. Yeah. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to go about it, but I definitely think the first thing to do is to tackle the problem in your own backyard. Like there's this whole like the government's thing to put migrant workers dorms more in the heartlands, and you can see all the comments on Facebook. They're like, oh my god, it's
That
like
section is toxic, man.
that's a gold mine of toxicity. It was crazy. Like people are commenting like, I hope they bathe more. This is not a reflection of Singapore, that you shouldn't be so close to us. It's so like and we definitely have to tackle
almost
that
inhumane,
problem.
I would say.
Yeah, it's
And
making them the other.
I think it's a bit ironic that all these people with the loudest voice, or like who have no reservations about posting online, right? I think they are also the ones that is hardest to get through in terms of matters like this, also to cover these issues. Like it's like talking to a wall sometimes. Like, how do we get through that barrier?
I think because it affects them the least. Like the problems of these, like let's say foreign workers, whether they live or die doesn't affect them at all. Like these like people of privilege, these people who don't care, because it just doesn't affect them at all. Even though it does affect them, like it affects the foundations of this country also, the things that are being built. And I think a lot of people are just very blind to that.
I think it's just about seeing yourself as being better than a certain group of people, which is like, I mean, fundamentally, if we all agree that everyone, regardless where they're from, is the same, which is funny that we have to even say it, right? That's part of what the Black Lives Matter movement is saying, right? It's like, why do we even need to say these things that all of us are the same? But we need to say these things because everywhere in the world this happens, and even in Singapore, where we can say we integrate, it's all about integration and stuff like that. But then once we talk about foreign workers, but not the foreign workers, right? As long they are not Singaporeans, so therefore they are not entitled to being treated the same ways that as we treat each other, which is super hypocritical. But as what Amirul said, right, you have to understand that these are also the people that post on Facebook and write the comments. So we also see that, I mean, it's said that these comments exist, but how accurate a representation that is of the voice of the public, I am not too sure also. Because I've heard a lot of people maybe not posting on Facebook when they discuss the foreign workers and discuss, like, they are very, it's caring, there's a lot of empathy, there's a lot of, concern for their well-being. So yeah, we have to take those Facebook comments also with a bit of like, yeah, these people are
Bucket of salt.
yeah, maybe a minority also, but
That's why it's incumbent on content creators to actually create content that reflects new ideals. That's my biggest criticism of like MediaCorp and Singapore movies, that they always resort to easy tropes,
The lowest
easy
common
way of
denominator.
storytelling. Yeah, exactly. It's very, it is on the onus of directors to actually create new content, right? That doesn't make their characters be defined by their color, be defined by the character traits that their race has, like their group of people have. Like, it's very stupid, like that people still go back to that lah.
Yeah, and it's like I was listening on my run today. Like I was listening to the Okay Let's Go with Dikosh. They interviewed Dikosh, that podcast. Like his dream is to be a radio DJ, Dikosh, but they basically told him you are not marketable enough to be one. Like after 1 year, because of basically of his skin color. And then I don't know if they fired him, but I think they did. So like content creators, or like even the media gatekeepers here, are so afraid, and they're so like with the grain. They don't dare to do anything new or like challenging, which I think like what Nigel said, like now, like I saw a quote somewhere, like now is the time for artists and creators to shine, to have their art represent the issues that have to be said, to say things about issues that a lot of things are not said. And I think the more independent content creators are in Singapore, like people like Pretty Please or Subhas, even like the Fakafas or Okay Let's Go people, like they are minorities in Singapore, and they are kind of like the voices that we have now, which is definitely what we need to highlight conversations and issues that are happening. And I'm glad that's happening with some of these creators. But I think the largest content creator in Singapore is not doing its job of like talking about issues or representing minorities.
The fact that they still have blackface in some of their that they have all these controversies about blackface, right, shows you how forward thinking they are.
Yeah,
But
how can that
they
happen?
have to understand the amount of power that they have, when they say, oh, Dikosh, you're not going to be marketable, but by normalizing certain things, you start a new trend and make certain people marketable, and they do have the power to do that. It's about normalizing things, right? About normalizing a minority person in a main role, or just not feeling that the show is there because, not feeling that the character is there just because to tick a box and say that I'm representing a certain race. If you see a Chinese main character, right now, if you see a Malay or Indian main character on a primetime TV show, maybe you ask, maybe I'm not sure, but maybe you do ask yourself like, oh, are they doing this to tick a box? Are they doing this to to make a point. But if it's done enough, right, and if it's done regularly with a good mix of things, it becomes normal until people stop questioning it. And it's also about the churning out of the content, right? If content creators keep making stuff like this until it reaches a point where you don't even think about the race, right? I think that's ideally what I like to see lah. But I think it's still gonna be a lot of checking boxes.
Yeah, and we haven't even touched into Our Boys to Men, which basically copied all the stereotypes without giving any more conversation and be giving any more depth to the conversation. But that's for a whole other episode where we will shit on this fucking stupid movie.
Movies.
Yeah, this set of movies.
Are there like 4 or 5 versions now?
There is there are 4 parts now. 4 movies.
I didn't watch part
altogether.
4.
I think there's like which one was it? The Frogman one? Like the whole movie was a dream.
No,
Was it
Yeah, I
like
think it's Frogman. That was part 4.
that's like you can make a movie from a dream sequence. That's like you can make Inception on that lah, but not like fucking A Voice to Man.
Oh, it's on Netflix now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
main difference I feel lah. It really is, because like at least Army Days managed to shed light, and they done it satirically, whereas Our Boys to Men was just here's the stereotype, laugh at it, and it is done in a very bad taste, in my opinion.
I just think it's about normalizing. That's the thing. Normalize like gay characters, normalize minority characters, until a point where we don't really have to think about. But when I say don't have to think about it, right? You still have. I mean, while making a show, that's something you have to think about. Like if you look at Netflix now and some of their hit shows like Sex Education, the characters in Sex Education are like so diverse to a point where it has to be thought of strategically, where they really try to represent a wide range of people, although they don't make that the defining thing about their character. So regardless of their sexual orientation or their race, it's represented, but they're doing normal things. They're doing things that everyone does.
Yeah.
That's what I feel needs to happen here.
Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a really good character. They did him well.
And the jock who is gay also. I can't remember his name.
Adam.
Yeah.
That was a good that's a good
Example,
storyline
yeah.
also.
Yeah. I feel like Singapore movies in general is still stuck in that sense where we just don't have multi-dimensional characters yet in a lot of mainstream movies.
Should we try that the thing we talked about yesterday about each one has our own segment?
You need to give us time to think about it first, right? We'll
It's fun.
introduce
It's
it
fun
the
to
next
it's fun to
episode.
do it just on the spot. This is like a trial, a trailer for the next
Shit.
time we actually do it.
Amir, why don't you give us your bread stocks?
Your pick of the week.
A pick of the week. So for this week, I ventured into a different bakery, or rather like home-based baker.
Damn.
And I tried this baker called Wisdom. So shout out to Wisdom for
Ooh.
making really amazing tarty brownies. I never really had it before, and I also opened my eyes to kombucha juice because they
Kombucha
collaborated
juice.
now. Yeah,
What's the difference
So, like-
between kombucha and kombucha juice?
I know. Wait, hold up. Is that a difference? I don't know. I thought it was called kombucha juice all the
I thought you squeeze kombucha, then whatever comes out is kombucha juice.
No, I guess it's kombucha then. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had kombucha tea instead of kombucha juice.
Nice. So what do you get from Wisdom?
So I think for every home-based bakers, they just package everything together now. So you can't really dissect and choose like which brownie or cookie do you want to taste. So I think they gave a wide variety of like really tarty flavored brownies from cookies. Sorry, not from what's that orange color fruit called?
Orange.
Orange.
Not orange.
Papaya.
Mango.
Yeah. No, it's
Mango?
tangy. It's tangerine.
Tangerines. Dude,
No, it's
tangerine.
not. Shit.
Satsuma.
Orange, Satsuma,
No, it's not.
Mandarin orange.
Pomelo.
No. Yeah. I think it's pomelo.
It's green.
Oh shit, wrong fruit then. Grapefruit. I think it's grapefruit.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
grapefruit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's grapefruit. Yeah. So it was quite an interesting mix. To try different like flavored brownies other than your classic flavors one. So yeah, Wisdom. Check them out.
Was there any bad things
Ooh,
about
Wisdom.
it?
Yeah, so it sells out in 2 minutes. So fuck you,
What?
internet keywords.
So in the end, is it a sour dope or sour nope?
Sourdough. I would say it's still worth the gamble for the 2
Sourdough.
minutes. Yeah.
I
Nice,
had
nice,
my
nice.
sourdough last night from Mother Dough. So shout out to Mother Dough, which I think is really very popular. So yeah.
Actually, Vin, right? I know what you can do. You should try different things, right? Like let's say you try your favorite McDonald's breakfast, right? And then you should do the ASMR shit while you're eating, and then narrate your
Just put
experience.
things in your mouth.
I feel
Yeah.
that will lose us all of our 2 viewers and listeners.
No, we
Or
we
gain
can
us
post
2
it
more,
on
man.
Instagram.
Okay, the next time I order McDonald's, I will film myself eating it with the mic on,
ASMR.
and then I'll cut it out and edit after that.
Are we done?
No, Nigel, we're waiting for you to shit on something.
Oh fuck. Okay, so since we are in the phase of running for our lives, right? So I've been running, trying new routes and everything, right? One thing I want to shit on, right, is that okay, when you're walking, right, in a pavement, normally if you're walking this way, you always stick to your left, right? I mean, I think that's a common sense lah.
Like driving, is it?
Yeah.
Stay left.
It's
Okay.
it's an unspoken rule that you just have to stay left when you're walking, right? Same
It's
thing
not
for running.
unspoken.
Actually, I
the
didn't know
government
that.
is tells you to stay on the left side if you're not moving fast on your escalator up or escalator.
Yeah. So
more a
so
subconscious thing.
yeah, running paths you should stay on the left. You're slower, right? I want to shit on people who are slow and run on the right. Yeah, so fucking annoying. Oh my god. And then you don't really want to like shout at them or like you're scared you spit and all that. Especially in this time, right? It's very dangerous.
She
So
pretend to
you-
cough.
you
like,
just- Politely like and then they were like, oh sorry, or sometimes they don't even say sorry, and they just expect you to run around them. But then because they are running so slow, and then there's like oncoming people running from the other direction, right? So you just gotta like maneuver your way. So those people, right, just please stick to your fucking left, okay? Don't take up the whole fucking pavement. It's not your fucking grandfather road.
Please.
Yeah, that's my
Please do
rant.
that.
Yeah,
that's
say-
my
say please.
daily shit on. Yeah, please.
Now you know what? After I go and run after this, I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna see other people standing on the right. I'll be like,
Yeah, but it's
No,
really
it's a glass
something
shattering
that
moment.
it's really something that I also noticed. Like all those fuckers that like to just get in my way. They don't know how to move. They don't know left or right. And
everyone's
sometimes
trying
I
to
just
stop
have
you
to,
from your 10K, but you push them aside.
yeah,
like,
man.
no.
I have a
man,
timing to
you're
meet.
blazing past everything.
So I just like try
You know
and
what you should
squeeze
do?
past them.
You should say, I'm trying to run 430 while you're running that faster.
Just keep shouting your pace so that people know.
In YJ, we should follow you like Olympic pace setters, right? Like Vin and Nigel and I, we can like run ahead first. We clear the path for you so that you have
Yeah.
a space to set your
Okay.
record.
That concludes our discussion about Army Days, a very iconic film that was, it came out in 1996. Yes, 1996. And it's a timeless classic. We will recommend it, if you want a good laugh. And watch that instead of Our Boys to Men, please. And thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Where can they find us?
Oh yeah, you can find. Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, you can find us on PUCKISH podcast, right?
On which platform?
On our Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple podcasts.
Not yet.
Oh no, yeah, no, fuck.
They haven't approved yet. Apparently, they have someone sitting there. Someone sits there to go through all the podcasts they submitted
Oh
To
and
listen
listen
to
to the whole thing. Yeah, and then we'll see whether
Wow.
it's approved
That's amazing.
Oh,
for
We're
Apple.
gonna get cancelled.
What a job.
No man, there's so much worse ones out there.
Okay.
But yeah,
We
Spotify,
haven't
we're on
said-
Spotify, so that looks
Yeah.
good.
Importantly, we are on Spotify. This is our 3rd episode, right?
Yes,
And
so
we'll
look out
we
for
will
the
start
next one.
reviewing more. Yeah, look out for the next one. We'll be reviewing more movies. We'll be talking about more issues. We'll be talking about sports. We'll be talking about improving ourselves even more. Hopefully, you can join us on this journey.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
If you like the content and want to hear more from us, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred podcast tab. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Puckish Podcast. Puckish.